What would you do if the people meant to protect you were the ones causing the most harm? Share your stories or opinions on handling systemic bullying and injustice. The corridor buzzed with the sharp echoes of laughter and whispered glances, fragments of a social symphony that Jamal Carter navigated daily but never fit fully within. His fingers trembled as he reached into his pocket, the worn edge of his library card slipping from his grasp like a fragile promise. Time slowed. The world condensed to the slick tile floor, rushing toward him as the card fell, spinning in a fleeting arc before landing with a muted slap. The chatter shifted instantly, a ripple of hushed snickers and sharp smirks slicing through the air. Jamal's pulse thundered, a deep drum of dread pounding beneath his ribs as dozens of eyes turned, weighing him with the harshest judgment. The hallway light flickered overhead, casting stark contrasts, portions of Jamal's face caught in hot gold, others swallowed by cold, unforgiving shade. Trevor's laugh cut through the thick current of murmurs, sharp, cadenced, laced with cruelty. The leader of the privileged clique stepped forward, shadowing Jamal's retreat with the confidence of unchecked power. His tailored jacket glimmered under fluorescent light, his sneer was a visible weapon. "Careful where you drop things, Carter," Trevor mocked, voice rich with disdain and irony. "Or maybe you just can't hold on to what's more than just a card. Huh." The hallway felt smaller, narrower, as weightless whispers crowding tight pressed into Jamal's skin. His lips pressed into a shallow line. The narrative spun against him, casual, biting remarks that belittled years of hard study and quiet perseverance. "Look at him," another voice chimed, cruel and light. "Always trying to play the scholar when he should be playing catch-up." Jamal's gaze locked onto the library card, its laminated surface cracked, a silent testament to his determination and the barriers he battled. It symbolized more than a card, it was a lifeline, a passport to knowledge and possibility in a place inclined to define him by anything but intellect. The cacophony crescendoed. Shoves on lockers, pointed fingers, roars of laughter that felt like barbed wire tightening around a fragile cage. A sudden jolt at his shoulder sent him reeling against the cold metal frame, the bite of embarrassment sharp and corrosive. He tasted the bitterness of isolation, the sting of being visible yet invisible, noticed only to be diminished. Blood rushed to his cheeks, heat flaring even as cold despair settled deeper. The hallway's colors stilled, the rare bursts of vibrant hues in student backpacks and scattered papers now muted against the gray wash of dismissal. 2 steps back, Jamal swallowed a harsh pulse of air, overwhelming shame tethering him still. His eyes scanned the retreating backs of classmates, their silhouettes glowing faintly against the harsh corridor lights, a sea of indifference and contempt. In that suspended breath, beneath the roar of unspoken judgment, Jamal felt the caged bird inside him beat knees against invisible walls, a desperate call muffled but unbroken. His hand closed instinctively around the torn fabric of his sleeve, steadying himself on a pillar of unseen strength. The library card, resting on the hard floor, shimmered faintly under the cool glare, symbol of something lost yet not surrendered. And as the hallway slowly regained its rhythm, Jamal straightened his back, the first glint of defiance sparking in the quiet depths of his gaze. The scene closed not with cheers or consolation but with the haunting stillness of a man poised on the edge, torn between the weight of rejection and the fragile, unyielding hope of proving his worth. The school halls seemed to close in tighter around Jamal as he retreated, the weight of every mocking laugh and disparaging glance settling like a heavy fog over his shoulders. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, stark and unforgiving, casting elongated shadows that seemed to stretch and morph into silent accusations on the cracked linoleum floor. His heart pounded, but the rhythm was jagged, a discordant beat against the chaotic storm of shame and frustration raging within. Every step he took echoed hollowly, swallowed by a silence deeper than the one that followed Trevor's cruel taunts. The crowded corridors, bursting with chatter and shifting bodies, transformed into a maze of isolation, each face turned away, eyes averted, sympathy withheld like a scarce currency. Jamal's breath caught as he paused near the lockers, the metal cool beneath his trembling fingers, and glanced at the spot where the library card had fallen moments before. It lay there, a small, battered rectangle of plastic and paper, seemingly insignificant to many but embodying for him a world of opportunity and hope. Yet now, it felt tarnished, a symbol of vulnerability exposed and derided. His gaze drifted upward, catching the flicker of a distant bulletin board where pictures of achievers adorned the peeling cork faces of promise framed by ribbons and proud captions. Among them was the unmistakable image of his sister, Marie, radiant, triumphant, holding her Nobel Prize like a beacon of possibility. But instead of the comfort it should have brought, it deepened the achia reminder of the chasm between their worlds and the invisible barrier pressing on his dreams. A burst of laughter from a nearby group jerked Jamal back. Trevor's voice, coated in smug satisfaction, carried clearly, "Maybe one day, Carter, you'll learn that books can't light your way out of the shadows." The words stung, sharp as the bitter wind that ghosted through the open windows. Jamal swallowed hard, fury igniting beneath the cold surface of his resolve. Yet the fire flickered precariously, risked by the weight of doubt that had burrowed too deep. He moved onward, navigating the labyrinth of halls with a furtive purpose, fighting the urge to disappear into the gray anonymity offered by the masses. His reflection in the smudged glass of the music room door caught his eyes, tired but burning with an unspoken promise, a subtle quake of resilience trembling beneath the guise of defeat. As morning light shifted slowly, spilling warmer hues across the walls and students, Jamal's thoughts drifted reluctantly toward the future. The library card, Marie's achievements, even Trevor's sneering threats coalesced into a singular, quiet recognition. This was not the end. His lips pressed into a thin line, a barely audible vow escaping him, "Not done yet." The hallway simmered with the muted sounds of a world in motion. Lockers slamming, conversations weaving through the air, laughter mingling with footsteps. Amid this, a subtle change took root, a small but palpable shift from despair toward something else. Hope, fragile but persistent, tracing its way slowly through the cracks. Jamal's fist clenched around an invisible thread of light as he stepped boldly forward, the promise of resistance blooming quietly beneath the surface. The scene faded not with closure, but the lingering echo of a challenge accepted and a journey just beginning. The evening sky over the city was bruised purple and deepening to navy, the first stars blinking awake like shy witnesses peering through the thick veil of night. Jamal's footsteps echoed softly against the pavement as he trudged home, each step heavy with a cocktail of defeat and simmering frustration. The cold air bit at his cheeks, but it was warmth that he craved, something far more elusive than the fleeting sanctuary of his modest street. The faded glow of his family's apartment windows blurred against the growing darkness, a pale beacon in a landscape of towering towers and shimmering glass. As he pushed open the door, the soft hum of dinner preparations greeted him, a reminder of familial love quietly waiting beyond the day's harshness. Marie appeared in the doorway, her face alight with a glow that neither exhaustion nor time could dim. The worn edges of her modest work clothes contrasted starkly with the proud glimmer in her eyes, the kind that carried stories of perseverance and rare triumph. "Jamal." Her voice was both a balm and a summons, rich with unsaid promises. She stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly as she extended a small, dignified box wrapped in delicate gold fabric. He hesitated, eyes locked on the package as though it might shatter or vanish with a word. "What is this?" His voice betrayed the fragile hope struggling to rise beneath layers of pain. Marie's smile deepened, the kind born of battles fought and hard-won victories. "It's not just a prize," she said softly. "It's a testament to what is possible, even when the world feels like it's against us." Jamal opened the box with reverent care, revealing the shining Medalla Nobel Prizeite's surface catching the dim lamplight, scattering tiny realms of reflected brilliance into the room. The symbol of recognition, achievement, and the promise that knowledge, courage, and love could carve pathways through walls of prejudice and despair. A wellspring of silent resolve swelled within Jamal as he looked up, his eyes locking with his sister's unwavering gaze. For a moment, the room held only their shared breath, the quiet hum of hope vibrating between them. Outside, the spray of the city's nightlife glittered like distant stars, but inside that small apartment, a different constellational map was drawn, one charted by possibility, courage, and the fiercely burning light of kinship. Jamal's fingers curled around the metal's cool edge, a tactile promise etched deep within him. His earlier humiliation, the whispers, the jeers, these were but shadows shrinking away in the face of this luminous spark. With a steadying breath, he adjusted the worn sleeve of his jacket, the library card faintly visible in his pocket like a secret talisman. The layered weight of shame began to lift, replaced by burgeoning determination. Outside, thunder rumbled softly, a prelude to the storm that would challenge the school's halls but also to the cleansing rain that would follow a cathartic flush of renewal. The camera lingered on Jamal's eyes, reflective, clear, alight with the first embers of rebellion and hope. A quiet flame ready to ignite in the face of darkness. The scene breathed a brief, pregnant pause, not a resolution but an awakening. The first spark that signaled Jamal's journey was just beginning. The late afternoon sun strained through the grimy windows of the school library, casting long beams of gold that scattered dust motes into the still air. Jamal sat at a corner table, his body hunched over textbooks layered with notes, his mind both focused and restless. Each scribble on the margins was a silent rebellion, a declaration in ink against the invisible walls rising around him. The soft rustle of turning pages mingled with the distant hum of student chatter, but in this sanctuary of knowledge, Jamal carved out a space for himself, fighting quietly, fiercely. Outside, the school corridor pulsed with life, the echoing footsteps, laughter that sometimes turned sharp and bitter. He could feel the watchful eyes from the privileged circle, led by Trevor, stalking the periphery of his world like predators sensing vulnerability. Yet here, amid the scent of old paper and polished wood, Jamal found a fragile shield. Each success, no matter how small, a correctly solved equation, a well-earned essay, was a stepping stone in a rocky climb, affirming that his worth was more than whispered slurs or the weight of systemic injustice. The scent of fresh coffee wafted from the student lounge nearby, mingling with the musky aroma of books, wrapping the space in a paradoxical warmth and melancholy. Jamal's eyes lifted as the familiar figure of Mrs. Delgado, his history teacher, approached, her presence calm and steady like the lighthouse that cut through the fog. "Your analysis on the civil rights movement was insightful," she remarked softly, a rare smile brightening the lines etched by years of battles fought on and off the page. "You're showing remarkable growth." He nodded, voice quiet but determined. "I have to keep pushing. I want them to see me for who I am beyond what they expect." Her gaze lingered on him, a mixture of concern and pride. "Remember, real change rarely comes without struggle. But don't lose yourself in the fight." A sudden clatter from the entrance shattered the fragile peace, the unmistakable laughter of Trevor and his clique slicing through the library's hushed enclave. Jamal's heart clenched, a thunderstorm brewing in his chest as the air thickened with unspoken threats. Trevor's sneer cut through the room as he spotted Jamal's open notebook, a mocking gleam in his eye. "Still dreaming, Carter? Let's see if your grades keep up when you're busy dodging reality." The tension escalated as a few students turned, some smirking, others looking away, uncomfortable witnesses to a ritual Jamal knew all too well. The weight of their gaze pressed down like a physical force, yet within Jamal, a seed of defiance took root. He closed his notebook slowly, meeting Trevor's eyes with a steadying fire. "I'm not done yet," Jamal said, his voice low but laden with conviction. The room seemed to hold its breath, the walls echoing with the quiet power of those words. Trevor's smirk faltered, replaced by a flicker of grudging respect or perhaps wary calculation. As the sun dipped lower, casting lengthening shadows that blurred the lines between light and dark, Jamal gathered his books and rose. The path ahead was uncertain, littered with obstacles and the ever-present sting of doubt, but the spark kindled by his sister's achievements and his own small victories flickered brighter. Outside the window, the city skyline glittered, a labyrinth of lights against the encroaching night, each one a testament to dreams still alive. Jamal stepped out, the cool evening air wrapping around him, carrying with it whispers of challenge and hope alike. And in that moment, the delicate balance between fear and courage, Jamal embraced the fight not as a burden, but as a necessary journey toward a future only he could claim. The scene faded with the soft pulse of distant city sounds, the unresolved tension lingering like a held breath, inviting the next chapter of struggle and growth to unfold. As the autumn leaves pirouetted down the school's cracked walkways, Jamal's world became a crucible of light and shadow. The victories of late, the marks earned, the whispered praises from teachers were tempered by the weight of suspicion that thickened like the gathering fog over the city. Each day felt like a blade's edge between fragile hope and looming threat. The library, once a command post of knowledge, found itself shadowed by wary eyes. Friends who had once smiled now lingered with hesitance, their words treading carefully, laced with unspoken judgments. Jamal sensed their glances flicker away, a silent ballet of betrayal choreographed by the toxic undercurrents that whispered behind backs. The betrayal stung sharper than the cold wind that cut through the hallways. Trevor, ever vigilant and venomous, prowled the corridors like a predator aware of a wounded rival gathering strength. The privileged clique's laughter was a dull roar amid ceremonies and break periods, a constant reminder of the socio-political battlefield Jamal navigated daily. Their influence lurked, shaping perceptions and poisoning alliances. One afternoon, under the dim glow of flickering hallway lights, Jamal's trusted confidant, Malik, hesitated before a locker, eyes shadowed with conflict. "Jamal," he murmured, voice heavy, "things are shifting. Some aren't who I thought. Be careful who you trust." Jamal's jaw tightened, the cold flood of doubt gnawing at the edges of newfound confidence. "I know," he replied softly, hiding the tremor beneath the steel. "But I won't stop." The tension culminated during a grueling history exam, where questions seemed designed to entrap, their layers folded with subtle stereotypes and barriers. Jamal's pencil trembled, visions of shattered dreams behind the smudged glass of broken spectacles, a metaphor for his own fears threatening to cloud his vision. A sudden commotion erupted as again, Trevor's group staged their subtle campaign of sabotages, smudged notes left on his desk, whispered rumors spiraling through the student body, designed to isolate and diminish. The classroom's warmth thinned, replaced by a chill that seeped into Jamal's bones. Yet, amid the fog of cynicism, Jamal found fleeting moments of light. A nod of encouragement from a teacher, a quiet smile from a classmate who once stood distant, stoked the embers of resolve beneath the suffocating layers of pressure. Late into the night, Jamal sat beneath his bedroom window, a cityscape blurred beneath his gaze. His fingers traced the contours of the library, card-worn, creased, yet steadfast. Beside it lay a letter from Marie, her words etched with the firmness of belief. "Your story is just beginning. Fight not just for yourself but for all who cannot." The struggle was far from over, and Jamal's heart pounded fiercely against its cagey, a caged bird yearning for freedom. The crisp air whispered of storms ahead, but also of the dawn waiting patiently beyond the horizon. In the dim light, Jamal's resolve crystallized. With every betrayal and setback, the flickering flame within grew brighter. The fight for dignity was no longer just a personal battle, it was a beacon for those shadowed and silenced. And as the scene darkened, the unresolved tension lingered, a silent question hanging in the balance. Could a boy, underestimated and dismissed, wield enough strength to topple giants? The answer, like the glow of distant city lights, was just out of sight, waiting to ignite the night. The air hung heavy with tension, the buzzing fluorescent lights casting harsh halos over the cracked linoleum of Jamal's usual haunt, the school library. The familiar scent of aging paper mingled with the bitterness that clung to his chest like a second skin. Jamal sat alone, the library card clenched tightly in one hand, its worn edges a faint reminder of fleeting opportunities and silent hopes. His mind swirled beneath the surface, a tempest born not only of external clashes but the unraveling of trust he had once thought steadfast. Outside the window, the city's skyline blurred through rain-splattered glass, neon lights fractured into kaleidoscopes, shards of color that hinted at both beauty and fracture. The symbolism was unspoken but unmistakable: light fractured by darkness, promise marred by pain. His phone vibrated, a message from a friend, blurred lines of support laced with caution. But the trust that once grounded him had begun to fracture as well. Whispers of betrayal snaked through the school's undercurrents. Friends he'd confided in now held faces masked with uncertainty, their allegiance compromised under pressure he could scarcely understand. The revelation hit fast and cruel. Trevor's allies, people Jamal had once hoped to count on, had conspired to undermine him, feeding false rumors, sabotaging chances, undermining what little support he had built. A sense of isolation gripped him, colder and more biting than ever before. In a moment carved out of silence, Jamal closed his eyes and inhaled deeply, the sharp taste of frustration thick in his mouth. The weight of betrayal was a stifling shroud. He'd fought not just systemic oppression but the fracturing of his very circle. Suddenly, a new facet of his tormentor emerged. Trevor was not merely a figure of privilege and cruelty but a man haunted by his own insecurities, shadows passed down from fractured family ties. Jamal's mind raced through the implication. Beneath the ruthless veneer lay a vulnerable core, a source of the fear and aggression that fueled their torment. This revelation complicated the adversary he faced, blurring the lines between enemy and a flawed product of circumstance. Jamal's gaze drifted to the shattered glasses discarded on the table near by, once a symbol of clarity, now fragmented. The image haunted him, brokenness reflecting shattered dreams and the struggle to piece oneself back together. His voice, barely above a whisper, broke the stifling silence. "It's not just about me anymore. It's about all of us trapped in these cycles." The library lights flickered as if echoing the uncertainty in his heart. Yet beneath the pain, a seed of clarity emerged, a painful but essential awakening that fighting darkness required understanding its origins. As rain tapped steadily against the windowpane, Jamal rose, his reflection merging with the night outside, a silhouette caught between shadow and light. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with newfound complexity, but also purpose. In the quiet aftermath, the camera held on the library card resting beside the broken glasses, a poignant tableau of hardship, revelation, and the fragile promise of renewal, moment that would propel Jamal's fight from a solitary battle toward a broader quest for justice. The scene faded into a lingering pause, the weight of unspoken truths settling like a slow dawn over a darkened world, inviting the next chapter of resistance, reconciliation, and courage. The sky was a heavy, oppressive gray, mirroring the weight in Jamal's chest as he trudged through deserted school halls long after the final bell had cut the clamor of the day. The fluorescent lights flickered intermittently, casting harsh, unsteady shadows that danced on the cracked linoleum floor, a fractured reflection of his own unraveling spirit. His fingers trembled, unconsciously tracing the outline of the library card in his pocket, the symbol of knowledge and opportunity that once felt like a bridge to the future but now seemed like a fragile relic slipping through his grasp. The constant presence of Trevor and his cronies had become a relentless storm, battering not just his body but corroding his resolve, leaving behind a hollow ache of doubt and exhaustion. Jamal's steps carried him toward the worn benches near the school auditorium, a place once filled with laughter and camaraderie, now echoing with the absence of friends who had turned away or been silenced by fear. The air was heavy with the scent of stale popcorn and forgotten dreams, a poignant reminder of the isolation that encased him like an invisible shroud. Outside, rain began to fall in slow, thick sheets, blotting out the city's neon glare and drowning the world in a gray mist. The sound of water tapping against broken windows mingled with the distant rumble of thunder, a somber lullaby that echoed the tempest raging within Jamal's soul. His gaze fell on a pair of shattered glasses abandoned on the floor, their broken lenses scattering light into jagged fragments. The image was a stark metaphor for his own perceived failure, visions of success skewed and fractured, dreams dissolved into shards too sharp to touch without pain. A soft, barely audible sigh escaped his lips as he sank onto the cold bench, the wet fabric of his jacket clinging to his skin and his breath forming fragile clouds before fading into the cold air. His shoulders slumped, every inhale a struggle against the suffocating weight of despair. Why even try? His voice was a cracked whisper, swallowed quickly by the cavernous silence. The empty corridor seemed to press in on him, the deafening absence of support amplifying every flicker of self-doubt. The library card lay heavy in his pocket, a mute witness to the painful chasm between who he was and who he was expected to be. His mind wandered to Mariathair's shared moments, her triumphs a beacon of hope, now feeling so far removed from his own fractured reality. Tears welled, blurring the cold, harsh fluorescent light into a relentless wash of white. Time slowed, the world shrinking to the chilling quiet of loneliness and the unbearable thought of surrender. The rain outside intensified, pounding the pavement like a storm of grief, and Jamal closed his eyes, teetering on the edge of a dark abyss where hope faded and shadows claimed dominion. The scene held a prisoner to the crushing despair before the heavy silence hung in the air, thick and unforgiving, embodying a descent both profound and inevitable. Darkness shrouded the vacant streets like a suffocating fog, swallowing Jamal whole as he wandered aimlessly beneath the cold glow of flickering street lamps. The wet pavement mirrored fractured shards of distant neon signs, splintered glimmers of a world he once believed held promise but now seemed irrevocably lost. Each breath he exhaled puffed out like ghostly smoke, dissolving quickly into the biting night air. His footsteps, unsteady and heavy, echoed hollowly against brick walls graffiti-stained and worn, the rhythm a bleak counterpoint to the frantic turmoil unraveling inside. The city's usual cacophony, the distant siren's wail, the restless hum of passing carshad dulled to a muted symphony, as if the world itself recoiled at the magnitude of his despair. Jamal's gaze dropped to the cracked pavement, where a single fallen leaf withered and brittle clung stubbornly to life amidst the decay. The image clutched at his soul, a potent symbol of fragility and resignation. His fingers brushed unconsciously over the pocket where his damaged library card lay like a talisman, yet it felt heavier than ever, an emblem of dreams shattered and opportunity slipping just beyond grasp. The silence pressed in, more suffocating than the night air, broken only by the distant, hollow echo of a stray dog's bark, a bleak reminder of loneliness. Jamal's lips parted in a breathless whisper, barely audible against the vast emptiness. Why? Words failed him, swallowed by the cavernous void where hope once lived. His shoulders sagged, collapsing inward, bearing the invisible weight of isolation and loss. The cold gnawed through his worn jacket, mirroring the chill settling deep within his Korea, chill born of betrayals, broken trusts, and the relentless brutality of systemic injustice. He stumbled into an alcove beside a shuttered storefront, where a faded poster fluttered loosely, a snapshot of a shattered dream. A pair of broken glasses lay against torn pages, the light catching the jagged shards to reflect a fractured reality. Jamal's eyes fixed on the image, the metaphor stabbing deep, clarity lost, vision blurred, potential dimmed. With a heavy breath, he sank to the cold concrete, knees drawn close, head bowed. The world receded into a dim haze of shadow and silence, time dissolving into a slow, merciless slide toward oblivion. The street lamp above flickered and sputtered, casting brief pools of light before plunging into darkness again, a rhythm that echoed his faltering heartbeat. In that fragile, flickering glow, Jamal's spirit wavered on the edge of surrender, where silence and despair intertwined. No voices called to him, no hands reached through the darkness. He was alone, entirely, achingly alone. As the light faltered one final time and extinguished, swallowing the world in ink-black night, Jamal's breath stilled, and the scene closed on a quiet tableau, a figure lost in the shadows, the broken leaf beside him, all consumed by the vast, indifferent darkness. The dawn was pale, fragility draped like a gossamer veil over the city's sketched horizon. Jamal lay curled beneath a thin blanket in the quiet sanctuary of his small bedroom, the outside world muted by the thick walls shielding him from the relentless pulse of school life. The broken fragments of daylight filtered softly through slatted blinds, dust particles dancing in somber pools of gold, suspended in the air where hope had once lived, now dimmed yet stubborn. Beside him, on a cluttered desk stained with weeks of hurried notes, sat the tattered library, card-worn edges softened by constant handling, a symbol of knowledge and the promise of opportunity long overshadowed by marginalization. The card caught the morning's faint rays, scintillating with a quiet dignity, an unspoken challenge to the silence enveloping Jamal's fractured spirit. From the hallway came the faintest rustle-soft footsteps that brought with them a presence both familiar and radiant. The door creaked open, and Mrs. Thompson, his history teacher, entered gently, carrying a weathered book bound in cracked leather. Her steady eyes met Jamal's, reflecting the toll of struggle but also a profound belief in the power of persistence. "This is for you," she said softly, laying the book on his desk with deliberate care. "It's rare, yes. But in its pages lies strength and vision that transcends adversity. Remember, even in shadows, knowledge can be a flame." Jamal's fingers hesitated above the fragile spine, tracing the embossed Titley Testament to legends who changed worlds not with swords but with ideas. A fragile ember sparked within him, a silent awakening in the depths of despair. He lifted his gaze to Mrs. Thompson, the tentative expectation in his eyes breaking through the veil of exhaustion. "Can I?" His voice faltered but carried a flicker of resolve. "Can I still fight?" Her smile was a quiet beacon. "More than ever." The light in the room shifted, the cold blues of night retreating slowly as warm tones seeped in, bathing the walls with hope's quiet whisper. Outside, the city stirred awake. Traffic murmured, birds sang, life's persistent rhythm pulsing, indifferent yet intimate. In that moment, Jamal's torment felt less like a crushing weight and more like a crucible forging a new self. The broken glasses symbolizing his shattered dreams no longer defined him. Instead, the quiet strength sparked by this humble gift illuminated a path not just to reclaiming his worth, but to a broader fight for justice and dignity. The camera pulled back, the soft glow of dawn wrapping the room like a cocoon poised for transformation. Jamal's hand closed firmly around the book, his breath steadying. The journey ahead was bleak and uncertain, but within the quiet sanctuary of knowledge and love, a fragile flame had been kindled on that would carry him through the darkness toward a future he was yet to write. The dim, oppressive shadows of the school gymnasium slowly dissolved as the first hints of dawn crept through the barred windows, spilling muted amber and soft pinks onto the worn gym floor. Jamal stood at the center, knees loosely bent, eyes closed, breathing in the fragile warmth, a stark contrast to the cold weight of the days past. The echo of jeers and sneers still haunted his mind like faded whispers, but beneath them, something new stirred, an ember of resolve flickering against the chill. His palms, still trembling from the storm of humiliation, slowly unclenched. In them lay the small, battered library card, a symbol of the knowledge that once seemed unreachable but now beckoned as a rallying point. The familiar texture of the card, worn from countless handling, grounded him amidst the hum of distant footsteps and the faint hum of the waking city outside. The shadows around him stretched and contracted as if sensing the imminent shift, dormant darkness sensing a dawn about to break. He took a deliberate step forward and looked, Euph's gaze resting on the empty bleachers, the stark sterility of the gym suddenly humming with the quiet pulse of possibility. The flickering light of the sun filtered through the barred windows, illuminating dust motes that floated like tiny stars, symbols of hope shimmering in the stillness. Jamal's breath was slow, a measured acknowledgement that the journey he had begun was far from over but had undeniably shifted. The pain, once a searing ache, softened into a quiet determination deep within his chest, an unspoken promise to himself that no act of systemic injustice could diminish his worth. A gentle breeze slipped through the open window, carrying a faint scent of dew and fresh grass, a reminder of Marie's stories, of her talks, her unwavering belief that knowledge and courage could change the world. That fragile scent wrapped around him like a promise, the kind that whispers of a future still unbuilt but worth fighting for. He reached into his pocket, fingers brushing against the worn edges of the library card. It was battered, yes, but still whole, a badge of resilience and the unyielding spirit of someone cast aside but not broken. His eyes drifted to the faint, distant horizon where the rising sun promised light beyond the shadows. A small, faint smile played on his lips, a glimmer of the formidable strength awakening within, a spark that refused to be snuffed out by yesterday's ridicule. The light that seeped into the gym, soft and warm, seemed to breathe life into that spark, igniting a quiet fire of hope. The scene pulsed with a new rhythm, the slow, steady beat of victory beginning not with a triumphant roar but with a gentle, yet resolute, acknowledgement that change is possible. Jamal's figure, silhouetted against the awakening sky, exuded a calm, unshakable resolve, a testament to the fundamental truth. Even in the darkest hours, the seeds of change lie dormant, waiting for the right moment to bloom. The gymnasium's air was thick with anticipation, the harsh fluorescent lights casting a cold sterility over the gathering crowd. Jamal stood at the center, clutching the worn, battered library card, his talisman of resilience and hope. His gaze swept across the sea of faces, some grim and others uncertain, as he drew a steady, deliberate breath. Behind him, the shadows of Trevor and his cronies loomed like a storm ready to break. Their smirks, sharp and unrelenting, were a toxic miasma threatening to drown the fragile fire flickering within Jamal's chest. But amidst the murky gloom, a spark of clarity ignited, a silent acknowledgement that he was no longer just a target, but a force being reborn. His voice, steady and unwavering, cut through the tension like a blade. "This isn't just about me. It's about every one of us who's ever been silenced, pushed aside, or dismissed." The crowd held its breath. The moment stretched the culmination of every hardship, every act of quiet defiance, and every ounce of courage he had summoned. The library card was no longer just a symbol of access. It was a badge of resilience, a testament to the power of knowledge and inner strength. Trevor's eyes flickered with a flicker of surprise, or perhaps unease, as Jamal stepped closer to the center of the gym floor. His voice grew louder, not with anger, but with the unassailable clarity of truth. "I'm standing here today because I refuse to let their ignorance define me. Knowledge isn't just for the privileged, it's a weapon, and I choose to wield mine." A ripple of whispers spread through the audience. The color in the scene shifted, the stark blue of doubt faded into the warm amber glow of hope, the contrast symbolizing the turning tide. Jamal's stance was firm, shoulders squared, eyes shining with unmasked determination. He pulled out a small, crumpled sheet of paper notes, penned in a hurried, yet resolute hand, and read aloud, "To those who doubt the power of the underestimated, I say, watch us rise. Our strength lies not in titles or material wealth, but in our unbreakable spirit and the knowledge we carry." The room remained silent, the moment pregnant with possibility. The faint sound of applause, initial and hesitant, began to swell, connecting hearts and minds in mutual recognition. The shadows of Trevor's influence flickered as the light of truth cast their long silhouette against the wall. Jamal stepped back, raising his head high, the library card resting proudly in his hand. The scene conveyed its silent truth, a symbol of hope, resilience, and the unwavering belief in oneself. In that quiet moment, the crescendo of a silent revolution, the scene lingered, an AWE-inspiring tableau that captured the first rays of dawn breaking through the darkness, heralding a shift that could never be undone. The camera drew back slowly, the image of Jamal standing tall amidst the uncertain glow of a new dawn, and spoken promise that change, like light, always finds a way to pierce through even the deepest darkness. The gymnasium was bathed in a warm, amber glow, the morning light filtering through high windows and casting long, triumphant shadows across the polished floor. Jamal stood in the center, clutching the battered library card like a talisman, its surface worn but its significance unbroken. His breath was steady, each inhale a reaffirmation of the strength he'd summoned from the depths of despair. Behind him, the crowd of students gathered, the murmurs quieting as he took a deliberate step forward. Every heartbeat echoed like a drumbeat of defiance and hope resonating beyond the confines of that hall. Trevor and his cronies lingered at the edges, their smirks faltering as the tide of change surged around Jamal. With calm conviction, Jamal lifted his voice, steady and unwavering. "This isn't just my victory. It's a victory for everyone who's been silenced, dismissed, or underestimated. Knowledge is our weapon, all right, and I will not let systemic injustice diminish its power." The words carved through the tense air, the sincerity visually amplified by the radiant glow that now filled the room. The contrast was stark darkness retreating, light swallowing shadows. The metaphor was unmistakable. Justice, like dawn, had finally broken through the night. A ripple of murmurs spread across the crowdsome initial, hesitant yet their persistence grew, swelling into a swell of quiet affirmation. The walls of the gym seemed to pulse with newfound energy, a silent testament that hope was resilient and, above all, unstoppable. Jamal's eyes shone with newfound purpose, unshakable and fierce. He reached into his pocket, fingers brushing the familiar contours of the library card, a symbol now amplified into a badge of resilience and defiance. It was a simple object, yet in that moment, it embodied a universe of potential knowledge, opportunity, and change. "We are more than stereotypes, more than targets," Jamal declared, voice carrying the promise of a future rewoven by perseverance and self-belief. "Today marks the beginning not of revenge, but of justice. A future where we rise above the shadows cast by those who seek to diminish us." The scene lingered on Jamal's powerful stance, the subtle, unbreakable light of hope shining through as the crowd erupted into quiet applause. The oppressive gloom receded, replaced by a luminous dawn, a symbol that even in the deepest darkness, perseverance and truth could usher in a new day. As Jamal lowered his arm, the camera drew back to reveal a renewed environment, the promise of change etched into every face and every silent vow. The moment's weight was palpable. Victory not through violence but through the unyielding power of the human spirit, written into history through courage, knowledge, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. The golden hour stretched its calming hues across the horizon, bathing the quiet schoolyard in a gentle, almost sacred glow. Jamal stood beneath the old oak at the edge of the campus, a small figure amidst the sprawling landscape of transformation he had helped catalyze. His hand rested lightly on the rough bark, fingers brushing the textured surface as if seeking reassurance from the enduring strength of nature itself. Clad in a simple hoodie and Jeansh's humble armor, he gazed at the scene before him. Students of every color and background moved freely, their laughter mingling in a chorus of newfound unity. The air was thick with a subtle harmony, a result of the unspoken agreement that had quietly taken root. Acceptance, respect, and justice were now woven into the fabric of their school community. The library card still hung around his neck, a delicate reminder of where he had come from and the journey of effort and resilience it represented. Its worn edges mirrored years of persistence, a symbol of knowledge that opened doors and shattered ceilings. Next to it, in a small case on a shelf inside the school, rested Marie's Nobel Prize, a shining emblem of achievement and transcendence, proof that greatness rises regardless of origins. Jamal's eyes lingered on the horizon, where the sky blushed with soft pinks and warm oranges, colors that seemed to echo hope and peace. The cool breeze ruffled the edges of his hoodie, carrying whispers of belonging and promise. It was in that moment, calm, pregnant with potential, that the part of his soul that doubted, that feared, finally loosened its grip. He took a slow, deliberate breath, feeling the weight of the past, the pain of injustice, dissolve into the expansive promise of tomorrow. The tears that welled in his eyes shimmered with unspoken gratitude, sharing space with the quiet understanding that victory was not merely in the external change but within oneself, a testament to strength, to perseverance, to the enduring power of believing in your worth. In the stillness, Jamal closed his eyes for a moment, internalizing all he had fought for. His fists unclenched, palms turned upward, a silent surrender to hope and acceptance. The world around him responded in kind, the shadows receding as light gracefully claimed its place. As the sun dipped lower, casting a warm, golden glow across the scene, Jamal's silhouette lingered beneath the old Oaxaca figure, rooted in resilience, reaching upward in quiet acknowledgement of the journey that had only just begun. The serenity of the moment promised a future built not on revenge or hollow victories, but on a foundation of dignity and unbreakable spirit, a future that he now knew he could shape with his own unwavering strength. The sun cast a gentle, golden glow over the schoolyard, illuminating a scene of quiet resolution. Jamal stood at the center, amidst a gathering of students whose faces no longer held the shadows of prejudice but shimmered with newfound respect. In his hands, he cradled the battered library card, the symbol of his journey, and next to it, Marie's Nobel Prize glinted like a beacon, both icons of perseverance and achievement. His shoulders relaxed, the weight of anger and doubt melting away into a profound calm. The air around him was thick with a silent understanding and unspoken acceptance of the past's pain and the promise of a future built on dignity, justice, and unity. Jamal's gaze swept across the crowd and then gently settled on a familiar face. Trevor's. Their eyes met, and for a fleeting moment, time slowed. Instead of insults or intimidation, there was a quiet acknowledgement and unspoken recognition of the struggles endured and the strength cultivated. He took a deep, steadying breath, the cool air filling his lungs, infusing him with a tranquil strength. Slowly, he reached out and placed his library card beside Marie's Nobel Prize, a gesture that spoke volumes without a single word, a declaration of worth, sparked by perseverance and unbreakable resolve. The scene expanded outward, the schoolyard bathed in the warm light of acknowledgement and hope. This was a sanctuary of growth, where scars had been healed by understanding, and broken glasses, metaphors of shattered dreams, were replaced by the clear, luminous vision of possibilities ahead. Jamal's face lit with a gentle, genuine smile, reflecting an internal transformation and unshakable faith in himself and the truth he had fought to preserve. The camera lingered on his silhouette against the rising sun, an emblem of victory forged not through revenge but through the quiet power of conviction. A moment of poignant silence followed, a cinematic pause that invited viewers into the depths of Jamal's soul, a silent testament to the enduring dignity of a young man who refused to be defined by systemic injustice. In that stillness, hope blossomed, a radiant flower amidst the debris of prejudice, promising that kindness, courage, and perseverance could indeed change the world, one step at a time. Silence settled like dawn over the quiet hill where Jamal now stood, the horizon stretching endlessly before him, bathed in the soft glow of a lingering sunset. The ache of past wounds had softened into a gentle ache of completeness. In his hand, he held his library card, the symbol of struggle, resilience, and hope, and next to it, Marie's Nobel Prize shone quietly, a testament to a journey of perseverance and unwavering spirit. The gentle breeze rustled through the grass, whispering songs of peace and quiet victory. Jamal's gaze lingered on the glowing horizon, where the lines of sky and earth blurred into only a metaphor for the unity he now understood mattered most, the inner harmony between dignity and compassion. He took a slow, deliberate step forward, the memory of pain and injustice settled deep within, now humbled by the undeniable truth that winning was not about revenge but about reclaiming one's worth, a victory born from understanding and inner strength. The symbolic objects in his handy's battered library card and Marie's shining Nobel together told a story, one of humble beginnings, fierce determination, and future promise. As his figure faded into the silhouettes of the evening, the peaceful space seemed to absorb his resolve, a quiet testament that true change begins within and radiates outward. The scene paused, not in finality but in renewal, inviting the viewer into the still and silent promise of a future where justice, love, and resilience would forever light the way. Have you ever discovered a hidden talent in your family? Share with us below.